I've got this whole thing going, it's round knowledge versus square knowledge. I had an elder tell me, an Alaskan native, a grandpa sent his son to school and said, tell me what you observe. And the son came back and said, I don't know what. He goes, well, what shape was the building? Well, it was square. What shape was the room? Square. What were the books? Square. The desks, square. And he's saying this is square knowledge. But how do indigenous people do it? It's like we view a circle. It's a cycle. It's a connection. It's whether you talk about life cycle or a cycle of a fish or a cycle of whatever, and how everything's connected, what we do. Whereas square knowledge, Western education, everything's compartmentalized and separated. And so how do we get it back so that everything's connected?
I appreciate you sharing. I love that concept of square. I think that's really, really interesting. What shapes
It's
do you see?
beautiful. Mhm. Well,
Yeah.
it's interesting because so I don't know if y'all know this, but I also train horses. And so when you're working with young horses or horses that you've never worked with, you don't ever put them in the square pen. You put
Nope.
them in a round
It's a
pen.
round pen. Yep.
It's a round pen for a reason. And I think energetically for a reason, because in the square pen, what can happen is that they can back up into a corner and tune you out, and they can
Okay.
disappear in those corners. And so that continual circle means
Yep.
that even if it's disrupted, we're still going to, even if there's a disrupted connection, we're still in it together
I
versus a
like
square.
that.
Yeah, versus a square pin where again they can turn into those corners and block you out, and when you put them in a circle, they can be dysregulated, but we're still going to be in connection. We're still going to stay connected with each other. There's nowhere for you to get lost.
Yeah.
So
I like, I like
that just kind of reinforces the square versus the circle.
I like that scenario. And so what I'd like to do is I don't know if you're familiar with like forest schools. I mean, Finland's really big with forest schools, and so I would like to go and get training there. I mean, and kids are outside every day, and no matter the weather, anyways, but
My mind was kind of going to what can we do to introduce some circle energy
yeah,
into our day? That's where I was going, and I was trying to think about it in terms of the resilient learner backpack and befriending our nervous system and safety and connection. And I was just thinking, what would that look like? That's a really interesting way to put it. Like, what would that look like to kind of soften those corners, when they come in? I
yeah.
think of like bringing greenery in. I think about like in a corner of a room. In
Mhm.
a house we do that, don't we? When we have a corner that's kind of a big empty corner, we stick a fake plant in there, and at least I do. So
Right.
I was thinking, we call it biophilic design, bringing nature in.
Yes.
I think that's kind of what we're doing, and that's one of the regulating resources that I talk about in step 3, like what are your regulating resources in your backpack? And one of them for some kids, it is nature. And if we can't get them out because of whatever's going on in our school and we're not allowed,
It is.
how can we bring them in? And I know one teacher, and she's not here today, but I've talked with her quite a bit. She has on the desks water with little tadpoles in them. And the kids get to kind of watch this whole metamorphosis happening. So she has like this living, you know, bringing life into the classroom, right?
Yes.
I think that's something that for most kids would be a cue of safety, right? When you walk in and you see greenery, you see some water, you see not all those edges,
Hmm.
right? What can we do to soften those edges? All right. I'm going to stop recording. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your night.
Bye.
If you're enjoying this conversation, please sign up for my newsletter at www.schoolmoves.com and receive new videos and activities every Friday. You can order the Resilient Learners Backpack on Amazon. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help get this information out. Thanks for all you do for children. Have a great day.